Hello writers, fellow authors, and mostly aspiring authors. You know, we're in a business that has changed a lot, and one of the things I want to ask you as you continue your journey, or as you begin your journey in particular, is how do you go about deciding on a title for your book? Not so easy as it may seem. Let's dive right into it, okay? I'm going to start by telling you my own story. Back in the early 2000s, mid-2000s or so, I went with a small publisher for my first novel, which I assumed was going to be a standalone book. It was called In the Spirit of Murder. The publisher, although they had been in business 40 years, had decided to launch a mystery line. So of course I was very excited. Mind you, this was before the explosion of ebooks. There really wasn't anything like that out there at the time. The way you did your work after it came out was you hit the public libraries for speaking engagements. You went and you stood, you know, in bookstores. You gave readings. You did stuff like this. None of this was online. They certainly weren't available as ebooks. So that's where I began my career, and my first book, as I said, was called In the Spirit of Murder. It came out in both hardcover and softcover, looking like this. Now, I didn't want to confuse my market, so I put the word murder there nice and big. The publisher did not change it, happily, and it was to suggest that this book was a mystery and that it was something that was unique, okay? It's not a cozy, but it's also not a real hard-boiled one with a lot of guts and gore and all that bloody stuff. It's got some action moments, but it's not one of them. Well, fast forward. I did that, having no idea I was going to go far forward beyond that one book, or, you know, into a series, until the publisher said, "We're getting good reaction. Laura, will you do a second?" And I was also getting letters from readers saying, "I hope this is, you know, not going to be the last of Claudia Hershey, the protagonist." And I got some nice reviews in local media. One reviewer suggesting this could anchor a long-term series. Well, this wasn't in my brain, but I went forward and I wrote a second. And the second was called Quietly Dead. Notice in this case I used the word dead, so that we had murder, now we have dead. I wanted to keep it sort of thematically tied together. Fast forward a little bit more, here came number 3. This one was called Deadly Associations, and in this case, the word deadly. So we had murder, dead, deadly. I think that was pretty consistent, but the point of it is this: I did not know it was going to be a series, and therefore I had no backstory for my character, Claudia. Hard-boiled, tough cop, homicide, highly skilled, from Cleveland, who moved to Podunk, Florida, Central Florida, exchanging hot lights and bright cities and all of that stuff, and a lot of murder, to a place that was essentially cow country, and she thought things would be calmer for her and the daughter she was raising on her own. So, had I known that, I might have approached everything differently, primarily, can do this to you, but primarily with a backstory. I had no backstory for Claudia. This was then subsequently developed on its own, one at a time, little bit by little bit. And happily it all worked out, but I struggled harder than I probably needed to do. So when I say to you, think about your titling and the value of it. Make no assumptions. That book that you're writing, probably now for the ebook market, which again really wasn't on the radar back then, it's something that could sustain more than one book, or not. Either way, know who your character is going to be beyond one story, just in case. The point is this: think in advance about all of the stuff that might happen to what you perceive as your book when you're starting out, because you don't know where it's going to go next. In case after the rights reverted to me from the original publisher, one of the pioneers in the ebook market called The Fiction Works approached me and asked if they could revitalize my novels, because a whole crop of new readers now with the ebook explosion and so forth put them out as both ebooks and trade paperbacks. And again, this time same title, different covers, a little livelier for the times, etc. They had a real nice heft to them. I like them a lot. And they're in both formats now because that's where the market is. Then, of course, we moved on quickly and redid Quietly Dead. The text didn't change, really, but the covers did. And finally, Deadly Associations, books that are available in more than one format now. And that's probably what you're experiencing as well, or maybe. We know we're doing most of our own marketing now. I expect to see more of this. We know we're working in a saturated market. So think in advance. Think about the titles so that they stay together, and most important, think about that character in advance. Don't assume anything. Make sure you have a full backstory, whether you use it all or not. I'd love your feedback. I have a couple of links below in the comments section. Take a look at those. Send me your thoughts, okay? And until the next time, all I can say is, as always, ever onward. See you later. Laura Belrick, by your Hershey Mystery Series.